Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Live Ones. It is April 24th, 2022. Happy Sunday. And the big news in the world of sports today, Miguel Cabrera finally did it, notched his 3,000th hit, put himself in a class of only six other players in the history of baseball with 500 home runs and 3,000 hits. I know his game has been off for about the last 5 years. He's a lot slower than he used to be. Tigers finally moved him to a full-time DH role in 2019. But behind Albert Pujols, no batter, especially right-handed, has been as dominant over the past 20 years as Cabrera. His 69.3 career wins above replacement ranks 7th among active players and 4th among batters. His personal accolades include 2 MVPs, 1 World Series ring, 4 batting titles, 7 Silver Slugger awards. He's an 11-time All-Star, and he is the last player to win a Triple Crown, of course. There aren't many guys who you can talk about in today's game as being locks for Cooperstown, but whenever Miggy and Pujols decide to hang them up, which frankly might be both happening at the end of this year, they're both in on the first ballot, no questions about it. Tyson Fury once again made it look easy against the number 3 heavyweight in the world last night, winning by TKO in the 6th round. There's just no challenge for this man anymore. He's one of those rare fighters you legitimately just can't find a credible opponent for, much like Vladimir Klitschko was before Fury came along. I honestly think some of the greatest heavyweights in the history of the world in their prime would have trouble with him just based on his physical gifts alone. The man has an 85-inch reach. There's just no standing toe-to-toe with him unless you're also that big. The only way to beat him is on technique. Maybe Joe Louis could do it. Maybe Ali could. I'm not calling the Fury the greatest heavyweight ever, not by any stretch of the imagination, just because he doesn't have the resume. His generation of heavyweights just isn't as insanely stacked as it was in the late 20th century. Boxing's just not as popular a sport as it used to be. Most guys who have a knack for combat sports wind up going into MMA. But he'd be completely justified in retiring now, like he was talking about on top. There's just no one else left for him to beat, and by the time that you could build someone else to take their shot credibly, he'd have aged out of his prime, and it just wouldn't be worth it. The Brooklyn Nets suddenly find themselves in a 3-0 hole to the team that honestly, right now, for my money, is the odds-on favorite to win it all in the Boston Celtics. The blame doesn't fall on anyone else but Kevin Durant, who just can't compete with the double team that the Celtics have been putting on him the whole series. You know, it's a real shame that the Nets don't have a big body of their own to throw into the mix, like, some 7-foot point guard out of LSU, former number 1 overall draft pick, who literally hasn't played a single game this entire season, should be nice and rested. Yeah, say lovey. The action continues today. We've got Sunday afternoon baseball, the NBA playoffs. Let's get right to it, and we're going to start with the Bucks and the Bulls. After 2 sluggish games to start the series, Milwaukee looked more like the team that was built to defend the NBA title in Game 3. Giannis set the tone early, scoring 16 of his 18 points in the first half. Then, of course, the Bulls started double-teaming him, so he became a ball distributor. He got 9 assists in the second half. Defensively, they held the Bulls to under 40% shooting and clamped down on DeMar DeRozan, holding him to just 11 points. Bulls had no answer. Even with no Middleton on the court, the template was set for how the Bucks can handle them today and for the rest of the series, and however long that winds up being. Frankly, I think this series is over. Bulls don't have any lights-out shooters if DeRozan is the focus of the defensive coverage. Levine and Caruso just haven't gotten it done. And when you got a matchup like this, momentum is everything, and the Bucks are riding it right now. I'm taking Milwaukee minus the 4 points today. Over to the Warriors and the Nuggets. The Warriors, let's think about this for a second. They went minus 14 on the boards. They committed 16 turnovers and shot 64% from the charity stripe. And they still beat the Nuggets. Jokic might be the reigning MVP, but he's just not a miracle worker. He's getting swarmed defensively. He lacks the personnel to stand toe-to-toe with an offensive team that boasts the best three-point shooter in NBA history. Without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., Jokic has no help, and he can't do everything himself. Plus, Jordan Poole has reached a new gear with his game few expected at this point in the season. All of a sudden, the Warriors are looking like one of the deepest teams in the Western Conference right now. And with Devin Booker's injury status still up in the air, Golden State might be the odds-on favorite to win the West right now. You could stick a fork in the Nuggets. They're done. Give me the Warriors, minus 4 today. I think you're getting a really nice line. Over to baseball, the Yankees and the Guardians. Is there any doubt at this point that Garrett Cole was one of the biggest beneficiaries of the sticky tack situation during his time with the Astros and probably the first year and a half he was with the Yankees? Umpires start checking for it after every inning, and all of a sudden he's a completely different pitcher. He's handing out earned runs like candy. If it weren't for the Yankees' phenomenal shutdown bullpen, I don't know what this team would do when he's on the mound because they don't have the offense. In any event, he gets the Guardians this afternoon, a team that's inexplicably, I don't even know how, jumped out to have the second best offense in baseball through the month of April. And a team that's going to be playing pissed off ball after that debacle with the New York fans in the ninth inning last night. This total has been bet down from its opening of 7.5 to 6.5 on the strength of the Yankees pitching and the Bombers' own lackluster offense. But 6.5 is a ridiculously low total for any MLB game. I think in this case, it's just way too low. I think Cleveland gets to Cole again early this afternoon, and the Yankees can at least get some runs off of Aaron Savale, who's spent his career in Cleveland getting knocked around by everyone. Give me the over 6.5 runs today. That is an easy play. Okay, so over to the Tigers and the Rockies. It's just become accepted lore among fans that a game at Coors Field is always going to be high scoring. Bettors know that's not the case. This is actually a great under ballpark. The outfield's one of the largest in Major League Baseball. Center field's about 12 feet back from where it is in most park. The foul poles are about 20 feet further back. They're out like 355, 360. And they humidify all the baseballs to account for the thin air in Denver. If you've ever been there in person, it's a lot like Citi Field. It's just a huge, empty, almost perfect diamond in terms of its dimensions and its outfield walls. There's no like odd jutting corners. There's no odd features or anything like that you can Kareem extra base hits off of. Actually, the only advantage for the hitters have is when they line one in one of the gaps. Because the outfield is so big, a lot of guys can stretch extra base hits. They can stretch, what would be singles into doubles into triples, because the outfielders just have to run so far to get it. It's great for sac flies. It's great for moving runners over to third or into score. Plus, sometimes you get a matchup like today with a red-hot pitcher facing a non-existent offense. Chad Cull is going to be taking the mound for the Rockies, and he's gotten off to a great start this season. Through his first two starts, he's got a .87 ERA and .871 WHIP through 10 and a third innings pitched. The Tigers enter this contest following a flurry of low-scoring games. Prior to the doubleheader yesterday, the Tigers saw 9 or fewer total runs scored in 6 straight games and in 10 of their previous 12. That 13-0 game in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, definitely an outlier. This is a low-scoring team with not a lot of offense. And also, we've got a steady 20-mile-an-hour wind blowing in from right field today to knock down any fly balls before they get out of the park. So give me the under 8.5 runs in this game today. And last but not least, the Mets and the Diamondbacks out in Arizona. There are times that you look at a card and you just see a no-brainer. This is one of them. I said in Tyler McGill's last start that he had basically been auditioning for the role of Jacob deGrom while deGrom's out with an injury. He's tossed a combined 10 and one-third scoreless innings in his first 2 starts, but might have actually been in his most impressive on Tuesday. He did give up 4 runs over 6 innings and got a no decision, but he gave up 2 runs at a piece in the second and the third innings, but then probably most importantly, he settled down. He held the Giants at bay the rest of the way through 6 innings. The Diamondbacks offense has been, sad to watch. Much like last year, the team is hitting a combined 190. That's an entire professional baseball team that is collectively below the Mendoza line. The Mets, their pitching top to bottom, just incredible. Their bullpen, with the exception of the 2 Trevors, has been lights out. This is a recipe for a low-scoring day for the Diamondbacks. Give me Arizona's team total under 3.5. Fifth and final play for the day. Everyone bet safe, stay safe. Follow us on Twitter at Live One Sports. Check us out on Roku and Fire TV at the Live Ones. Have yourselves a great Sunday afternoon, and I will see you next time.